Is that automatically? I don't know, maybe 5 years it started as summer intern. 3 years.
Yes, I saw that. Maybe. If anyone needs an agenda, we can address it right up here on the table as well as some handout.
It's almost short one, isn't it? That was going to be so bad. I'd have been
So far.
First time we've had it since March.
Why don't
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 Pittsfield Town Council meeting. I'd like to start the meeting by inviting everybody to stand and convene and pledge Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I ask Jeff for a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you all very much. So I'd like to move on to number 2, the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 18th, 2023. And with that, I'll look for a motion from council, please.
I move we adopt the minutes of the meeting of April 18, 2023.
Second. Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments? Noted changes? All right, very well. Hearing none, I sense a ready to vote. All those in favor of adopting the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 18th, 2023, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The minutes of the meeting are adopted. So let's move on to number 3, please. Presentations, congratulations, and introductions. So I'd like to start the meeting this evening. So several meetings ago, we voted unanimously to award Mr. Kenneth Chinquette Spirit of America Award in memory of Kenneth Chinquette. So we have Ann Chinquette and Jean Bradshaw here, 2 of his daughters, to accept the award. So ladies, please come on up. I'm very glad you could make it. Here, I'm going to keep one to read. Here are copies for you. One for each of you. So if I may read this. 2023 Pittsfield Spirit of America Foundation Tribute is hereby presented in the memory of Kenneth Chinquette for his lifelong dedication to the community and through his decades of volunteerism and service to the region and the state through his business ventures. Kenneth worked on a variety of projects at the schools for the benefit of the children and their families. Mr. Chinquette was solely responsible for creating the town's seaplane access at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport that is currently in use today. The volunteer achievements and efforts of Mr. Chinquette exemplify the award criteria of impact, compassion, intensity, and longevity. The town of Pittsfield hereby recognizes Kenneth Chinquette for his lifetime commitment to outstanding volunteerism to the community that he considered his home, and dedicate this year's Spirit of America tribute to the memory of Kenneth Chinquette. So we have a couple pictures here. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I wish I had the list of the others who were presented before your dad. It's an impressive list here in Pittsfield, and he has a rightful place on that list. So congratulations, and thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. All right, thank you all, folks. We shall move on to Part B. We have a presentation by the Bijou Theater and Enrichment Center, BTEC, a proposal for the former Pittsfield Community Theater location. So I shall yield the floor. Ann, would you like to take the floor?
Well, I'll start it off.
Okay.
Ann Matthews, county resident, my entire life. I want to just really quick, what we sent you folks, some of the figures were a little, things got moved around and the total did not get adjusted. So the first year goal is rounded up to about 300,082. And then the next year is a little less, 430,000. So I haven't really got anything formal prepared, but I want to start off by thanking you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, our Town Manager Catherine, and the Council for the opportunity to stand before you tonight. My very first presentation in regards to the Bijou Theater and Enrichment Center, and we call it VTEC, was back in February 22 of 2020, where we shared the good fortune in regards to the Center Theater agreeing to become our fiscal sponsor, which holds true today. And Patrick is with us. He is the executive director. He's on Zoom, and he is wonderful and a lot of knowledge, and has been doing his position for many years and guides us. He's figured it out. He's figured out how to make that place run even through a pandemic. So it's pretty awesome. So just 1 month later, in March, COVID hit and changed everybody's world. We weren't even sure that the movie industry would survive. And a lot of it has gone to home entertainment. But audiences have loved the movies since the silent ages, and we don't believe they're going to go away. They may slow down, but it's really an event now where you go out and share with friends and family. It's a night out. And we would like to supply that for our town, only the movies are just a portion of what we would like to do over there. We'd like to make it more of a community-type center involving the arts and education of the arts and enriching people's lives. So much more we want to do with that building. I'm wondering if anybody has any questions about the packet that we sent along. And I guess I'm now interested in what the town council's thoughts are.
Council, any questions?
And maybe you can just kind of go through your presentation kind of at a high level for people that might not have this in front of them. and folks at home that might not have access to it.
So I've put on the front page a case of support. And it reads, "The seats are empty, tattered and worn from years and years of use. The laughter and good times are no longer here. Cold, dark, dirty, as it waits for its next chapter. The theater was once the jewel of Main Street in our rural town in Maine, where people of all ages and generations enjoyed the excitement of the big screen. The movie experience, the pageants, recitals, skits, plays, concerts performed on its stage are now gone. The dancing, the singing, the laughing, the pride is no more. It has ceased. With your help, we would like to make this building a vital part of our community again, only better. The vision of the Bijou Theater Enrichment Center, known as BTEC, is to provide a space for people in our rural community to engage and experience multifaceted enrichment and cultural opportunities through the arts, to encourage lifelong learning and to drive culture and economic development to our community. For over 100 years, the theater has offered different forms of entertainment for the people of Pittsfield and its surrounding town. Pittsfield and the theater, being the nucleus, served no less than 12 towns in 20-mile radius with the estimated, and it is an estimated amount, of 32,000 people as of the 2022 census. The history of this building is great. In the 1970s, the town of Pittsfield acquired the building, housing the theater to keep it from falling into unfavorable use and to ensure family quality values remain. Since the late 80s, the building has become a tax burden to the people of Pittsfield. Having this business and building, has been a challenge for the town as part of its municipality. With the decrease of movie sales and COVID restrictions in 2020, the town council made a decision to close the theater. The BTEC nonprofit, which I want to clarify, we have not filed for the federal nonprofit. We really feel that we need to have something. We don't want to spend the money if this is not even something that you would consider. So with that being said, we are a Schedule C corporation with the state. We'd like to take the burden off the municipality and run the theater and the vacant building next door as a Main Street center, offering humanities and social programs while focusing on entertainment, education, art, and cultural experiences as well. And I've broke it down a little bit to what the Ames Association report. I think the town council has had that report. But a lot of this we feel can be done in kind. It's truly, for us, a community project. We're going to reach out to many, many people and have started having conversations, and everyone seems to be in support of it. Does the price scare them a little bit? Yes, but all good things happen for a reason. So we now have a list of the people that are either a board of directors or an advisor. Our mission statement is making arts, education, and entertainment accessible to the rural community to engage and inspire. Then we've put together some of the timing and our short-term goals, our long-term goals. We've put together a list of grants that we would like to work on. And we have then put the proposal in. Basically, we are asking the town if they would consider an initial payment of $2,000 for that building to our organization. We also would like to secure an agreement with the town in order to continue the current financing of $8,000. That's what I understand costs you a year now to keep the building from falling in and insurance and whatnot. We would greatly appreciate that for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, we'd like to give you half that money back, because we feel that by then we will have some sound money through grants and whatnot, and we feel that hopefully it will entice you folks to pay attention to it a little bit. We'd like to do that, and I want to know if anybody in my group wants to add anything.
Did a good job, Ian.
Thank you.
So, and if I may, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to, do you have an
If
affiliation?
I may, for the record, could you stand and state your name and where you're from, please? Okay.
Yeah, my name is Theodore Bragg. I'm pastor of Calvary Baptist Church on Wood Hill. And I just asked if this group has an affiliation with the Center Theater in Dover Foxcroft.
Yes, sir, we do. They are our fiscal sponsor.
Okay. So there's been some concern within some of the community where they put on the drag queen shows there. So we wouldn't want to see anything like that coming to town. So I don't know what your response to that is.
I have no response at this moment. I have no response. Thank you for letting us know how you feel.
So, and if I may, I'm going to talk about the painful part, the money, because it's what I need to do.
Sure.
So the initial payment of $2,000, that's your group paid to the town, $2,000. And you want the town to maintain the $8,000, that $8,000 is just maintaining it for 3 years. And assume all liabilities, all insurances, all maintenance, all upkeep. So here's a for instance why I'm asking this question. So let's say, just for instance, we negotiate this agreement. A year and a half now, there's something major structurally wrong in the theater. Who's going to fix that?
We will fix it. We are a committed group of people to helping our community. We strongly feel that we will be able to find the money to fix anything that might come our way.
So you were privy to the meeting we had from another gentleman several meetings ago, and my concern was, and I call it the blue tarp effect.
No blue tarps.
No. Let me explain it so everyone else here understands. And the issue I have, if you have, okay, here's our chest full of money, or here are our benefactors. Here's what we have to fix this. Regardless of what happens, we're going to start now. This day we're going to be done. It's going to be complete. It's going to be structurally sound. We're going to buy it, and we're done. Something happens in the near future that nobody foresees. The marquee falls. Marquee falls, it's significant damage, or someone gets hurt. So the town's on the hook for the insurance, for liabilities on that. So where's that money going to come from? Rhetorical questions. I'm just saying this to make a point. I always come up with a worst case scenario, hope for the best, just in case. So to have a problem where, for some reason, okay, you run out of funds and you're searching for others, you're looking for donations or whatever grants available, that takes time. In the meantime, the theater sits with nothing being done. Let's say you're in the middle of getting the roof done. How are you going to keep the rain out? The blue tarp. And it's right in the middle of town. Now, the visibility of it, The visibility is good because of what it was, and the visibility is bad because of what it is presently. And with the PPI program that we're looking at, the whole Main Street being redone, I mean, this is almost like a 50-year cycle. It's happened 50 plus or minus years ago. So we're right in the middle of that. So that has a different profile now than it did just a couple years ago. So that's why I'm concerned. You know, that's my concern.
Well, I understand your concerns completely. Completely. We're not looking for you to pay the insurance or have any claim to the building whatsoever. We're looking more as a donation of the $8,000. We're not looking for you to hold any liability other than.
So we're actually going to be funding the theater. I mean, you would take ownership and all liability and all responsibility from day one. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
I think that probably needs to be identified a little bit more than that, because if I'm asking the question, there's going to be other people ask that same question. Okay. Council, anything else? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Ann, who will be, you listed a number of potential grant opportunities. Who is going to be doing the, that's a lot of writing to do all of these grants. Who's going to be doing the writing of these grants or application for these grants?
We do not have a particular person in mind at the moment. We will be searching in kind. There are thousands of people that were born and raised in this town that have abilities to do such things, and we will seek them out. Also, Patrick has offered, we'll say, I write one up, Stephen King's organization. He is kind enough to look over anything and everything that we ask, and he writes a majority, if not all of theirs. So we have people that are dying to help us, truly interested in helping.
Short term, but I understand.
Council, anything else?
The only thing I have,
Yeah. Go ahead.
the only thing that wasn't clear for me is total purchase price. So I understand the $2,000 up front, and then the half of the $24,000 back after 3 years. So that'd be a grand total of $14,000. Is that the offer for? Is that basically the offer for the purchase price at this time? Is
Yes.
that what okay. I was trying to make sure that I framed that up and that there was not an additional offer coming at like some point.
And we understand that there is a lot of interest going on about the building, and you made, Mayor, several weeks ago, an entity that's interested in acquiring a third of Main Street. There has been contact there, and they're aware of our interest in, participating if allowed.
Mike, one other question. Maybe this is more appropriate for Catherine. Making the assumption that the $2,000 down payment per se, and we turn over responsibility, lock, stock, and barrel to them, how do we as a community account for the $8,000 per year? Under what heading would that be? Since, do we give it to them as $8,000 payment yearly, for care of the theater to spend as they see fit, since they're going to be handling it? Or, is that legit?
Go ahead, Catherine, please.
So if an agreement was worked out and the group is going to lease purchase the facility or own it under certain conditions, then the funding can be given out as a payment, a lump sum payment with requirements, I would think, to make sure that certain things take place. And I did want to note, and this is a good time to note it, the budget was increased for the 2023 year to $11,597. We did very well from when the building was closed down until very recently, in which we had nearly $4,500 paid out because of issues with the roof, with leaking. And as I said, we did exceptionally well, but we hit a certain point here. The contractor indicated that that could hold the roof for a while, or it could go tomorrow, or it could go for 2 or 3 years. You don't know. We also had a $2,800 bill, water damage with issues with the furnace, with the actual piping and heating system. And with the other bills, we've already spent 2/3 of that budget, so I anticipate an issue there and transfers being needed at a certain point. We had discussed this during the budget process, that this could happen, and unfortunately it did. So I would think any agreement, we would want to make sure that the group was liable or responsible for the building. However, unless it's totally sold, the town will end up with liability and issues, no matter who pledges and means well and does a great proposal and works really hard. If it's not totally sold to the group, the town will end up with issues.
So ideally, a clean sale, would be the ideal situation.
Yeah, in this situation, it would need to be a clean sale.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So I think I love the idea of this being a community center and for senior citizens, kids, everyone's family. At the end of the day, to me, it has nothing to do with the purchase price of the building. Like it could be $0, honestly. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's more of I think anyone here, if they had the money, we'd say, here's $1 million, make that thing beautiful, and let's really shape our town around that. But for me, I have the reservation of being able to it'd be really nice to have some guaranteed backup. And I know that's hard to get. So I guess with that said, I'd be really interested in hearing Patrick's story about how that theater got off the ground and how they got funded. And was it grants, was it private donors? Like how'd that all come together so that we can have a little bit of imagination of right now it seems insurmountable, right? To me it's like, it just blows my socks off, and I commend you guys for putting the effort into it because that's a lot of work, and it's all passion, right? It's nothing you get paid for monetarily. It's all just passion and heart. So I'd really like to hear their story on how they made it happen.
Patrick, would you mind giving us will you just digest story, please?
Yeah, I'll try to condense 20-odd years down into
20 years.
So, yeah, back in the day, the theater really got started when the old Pleasant House Hotel came down here in Dover. It seemed like overnight that disappeared, and there was a Rite Aid at that point. And it got people concerned and interested about other historic properties in town. And, it was just much like this, a group of concerned citizens around the kitchen table who realized that, the theater could very well be the next building to disappear from the downtown. And it was very much the same process, just a bunch of concerned citizens getting together, wondering how the heck they were going to do it. I think the first grant the Center Theater got was from the Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation. And it was a grant to do a feasibility study, to figure out, try to quantify how much support there was for it in the community and, what resources there were available, in the immediate area. Ironically, those grants, the theater wasn't able to apply for directly because at that point we weren't a nonprofit either. So there was another nonprofit in town that acted as our fiscal sponsor, and that's one reason we're so proud to be able to provide the same service to the Bijou Group, because that's how we got started, with somebody being willing to be a fiscal sponsor and accept those donations so we could get off the ground before we actually got that 501c3. For the situation back then. This was, it was the late 90s and early 2000s. It was a little different economic situation and, frankly, a different demographic up here than you've got down there. You figure we've got 16 or 17,000 people in our immediate area that we can connect with. You've got a lot more down in your area. And, plus your theater was open much more recently. When the folks here were trying to get the Center Theater open, it had been 30 years since there had been, light on our movie screens here. And there were a lot of people who thought it was a fool's errand and was never going to happen. A lot of that initial funding was from every source that, is on the proposal that Ann presented. A lot of those names for the funders look familiar. And now there's also, like, noticed on your agenda that you've worked with the congressionally designated spending program, what they're, calling earmarks now. And, I can certainly see a large chunk of change for this project coming from that source as well. How it's all going to get funded, I don't know, but, knowing what I do know about grants and about historic properties in Maine, there's a lot of support for bringing historic properties back to life, both for the artistic and cultural benefits, but also for the economic benefits to the downtown of our small community. So, is it going to be easy? No, but it's definitely doable.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Any other questions or comments? Either to what was spoken here or to Patrick's?
Patrick, could you tell them about your staff?
Having trouble hearing, was that
Could, yeah, Jane asked if you tell us about your staff.
Yeah. It varies seasonally. During the summer, we have 6 drama camps going on, and it's pretty crazy. So, in the slower time of the year, we have basically 2.5 full-time staff. With the way movie theaters are operated now, with the automation and the way the projectors run, you really just need one person to run. We've got 2 screens at the moment. We just need one paid staff to run the theater when we're having a movie. We have volunteers that come in and help as well, but one paid staff is what we count on. We have other staff that take help with fundraising and memberships. Doing our educational programs that we have year round, things like that. But you could probably have, if you're just talking about the theater and not the enrichment center and all the great programs you're thinking about down the road, a couple full-time people could run the theater, I think, without much problem.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, question. Mike.
Yep.
When was the Ames Associates report? When was that conducted?
2015.
That's what these numbers are based on? The 2015 assessment?
Yes, but there has there's been money added for the increase. And again, a lot of this we feel can be done in kind.
Yes, sir. You have a question?
Yeah, I was down to the Lane House yesterday. I was talking to a citizen of Dover, and he was involved with the town and their decisions on this. And he said basically they were lied to. They were told they were going to have a lot of family entertainment and things like that. They had no idea that this drag queen thing was coming in. They said they never would have approved it. I worry about the legacy that gives for a town, for the children and grandchildren down the road. So that, again, that's a concern of mine. And family entertainment is good, but I think we have to be careful, what our children and grandchildren say.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Oh.
Bob Stackhouse, former councilor, town resident. I just have a question for Patrick. Patrick, is this theater now self-sufficient, or are you still looking for grants and funding?
Well, the way our business model works up here, if we were just running the movies, we would be essentially self-sufficient. We use a lot of the revenue from the movies to keep the doors open, the lights on, to fund some of our other programming. Now, it doesn't do that completely, so we're still writing grants. A large portion of my job is grant writing, fundraising. You know, we have annual memberships that people have to help support the theater. We do fundraisers all the time. I mean, it's for us where our mission is a little similar to the Bijou folks. You know, we've got the entertainment part of our mission, showing movies, doing shows and whatnot, but also the educational mission of doing drama camps and workshops. And you know, that's not a money-making endeavor. It never has been, never will be. So yeah, we're always looking for support.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, very well. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Certainly a lot to think about here. So thank you all very much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you, Patrick. All right, so let's move on to C. I do not see Mr. Kroger here.
I did not see him.
Okay, we shall move on to D, Economic and Community Development Projects. Catherine, if you would, please.
Very good, thank you. For economic and community development projects, I have a number of items on the agenda. I'll be as brief as possible. They're somewhat all connected. For the number one, the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation, also known locally as PEAC. The Board of Directors and officers held a meeting last Thursday, April 27th in the early evening to re-elect directors whose terms were expiring. So former mayors, councilors Timothy P. Nichols and Robert N. Stackhouse were re-elected to a 3-year term. The directors set the time for the annual meeting. The bylaws require that the annual meeting on the first Tuesday of the month. So that meeting will be at 4:30 p.m. so everyone on the board can attend on June 6, 2023 for annual business. That includes the election of the officers, nomination of any directors the board chooses to address within their bylaws, and regular business. Regular business items will be looking at the town website. Changes to a town website going to another company can take as much as 3 months or more. So they'll discuss creating a new website, maybe putting out an RFP to help the town. Director Gary Jordan, when he was mayor, set up the town's website that we have now. Our website is extremely easy to use with the exception of the photos, but we are on tier 1 and it's very basic. To get a more exciting setup is a lot more money. So I'm on the board of several nonprofits and economic development agencies, and you need a website that's easy to use. So whatever we look at with ideas for the town will be a website that we can maintain internally and not have to hire a consultant like many of these economic development agencies and nonprofits have had to do, because they had a wonderful website, but they couldn't maintain it. It was too complicated. So we'll need something that is simple again. Number 2, we'll look at the economic development plan and updating that. I'm going to send that out to the directors again, set a date for people to provide information, and then have a finished product for them, the directors, to look at. And we'll talk about projects going on in the community. Going on to congressionally directed spending. Well, we're headed to Washington, D.C., so this is quite exciting. The town has made the first cut to get on the list of our U.S. senators, which is great news. This is for funding of a little bit over $1 million for the water main that's desperately needed in Birchwood Terrace. Susan Collins and Angus King supported our applications. Now, I do need to note this is a long shot, but the fact that we have 2 senators supporting the application gives it a much better chance than if it's on just one list. And so a lot of towns, nonprofits ask for money. This is the first time we've done this in a very long time. But this is a project that we just cannot get enough points on to get replacement money to the state for low interest loans because of certain conditions on the town's rates being really low. And not having an emergency situation in terms of contamination, which we don't want. So we did obtain the sewer main replacement funding. That was quite easy, and we scored very well. It's just different federal programs, different state requirements. Number 3 is the Planning Partnership Initiative, called PPI. This process is ongoing. We're collecting information, connecting people together with a firm that the town chose with the assistance of the state of Maine, Gorilla Palmer. They had a great meeting with their engineer who grew up here in town, so he's very invested in the project. The PPI is a planning project for the Main Street project, and so that's for the infrastructure only, although we'll look at some other elements. This will be regarding the revitalization of Main Street in terms of the road work. We have waited for MDOT to get all their approvals for a number of years, and then all of a sudden, when they were able to get their historic preservation approval so that we could move forward, we then got an opportunity to apply for the Planning Partnership Grant, which could bring in a lot of federal dollars, much more than what the town can get at the state level. So we're working on that planning project, which is estimated to be completed next February of 2024. Going on to the last item, downtown revitalization funding. The mayor and I, as well as some of the councilors, have been approached regarding the need to look at the downtown as one area, not just fixing up one building, but looking at Harding Main Street as a block. And so that definitely has merit. In the 1970s, the downtown was revitalized, and we basically need that effort again. It's another 50 years, and this is traditionally what does happen in communities. And certainly we're not talking about tearing down any buildings like that happened in the 70s. You know, having the new pavement, the sidewalks, the street lights, that will all be wonderful. However, we have some buildings that need a lot of work in the downtown. That means a lot of money. They're wonderful buildings, including the theater. It's been recommended by business people in the downtown that we look at downtown buildings as a whole, come up with a downtown revitalization plan that would mesh with the PPI plan. There's not much for all these planning studies, but getting the planning studies done gives you a much better opportunity to get funding at the federal level. So if we look at each building separately, it'll take a long time for the downtown to be revitalized. So it's been recommended to us by business people that deal with economic community development, we look at this as a whole. And so I have to think this all started out in 2017 as a sidewalk project. We jumped on getting the money for that, and then Maine DOT explained that this was their road and they would plan out the project, and our sidewalk would fit within it, and they'd work with us, which was great. And then Maine DOT ran into a lot of different issues, and then COVID hit, and that resulted in a very delayed project. Then ironically, when Maine DOT was ready to go, and they had the historic preservation approval to cut trees and work in the right of way and everything, we were then the delay because we got the PPI money. This was a program they had back in the 1980s, and it wasn't really promoted much, and they didn't have funding behind it, but all of a sudden this was a priority of the state of Maine, so that was very good. Because of that delay, we have to reapply for some of the grants that we got, the tree grants, which is easy enough. I was also notified that the feds have told the state, and that's the Department of Economic Community Development, that we will need to reapply for the CDBG funds that we were awarded. There's no penalty. We don't have to pay anything back. We still have our match in a special account. I'll have to reapply next year, which is not a surprise at all. It looks like I'll have 30 grants going next year. It's quite exciting here. So in a nutshell, the PPI that we're working on is going to address the infrastructure, and that will open up possibilities of federal funding for roadway work that's not currently funded. DOT has a certain amount of money that will be very good, but there's other infrastructure issues, and the town can't afford or get the money from the state. So having this PPI program and being promoted by the state, which was very excited about the attendance that we had and all the interested people, will allow Maine DOT to submit an application for us through a RISE grant. That has to be done by the state and the federal government. And so it's also recommended that we obtain downtown revitalization funding. And so the deadline for the state program was in January, so we'd have to wait till next year. But looking at the specs, the town would not be eligible because we're not 51% low and moderate income. With grants, that's an issue for us, but On the other side, it's good that we're not 51% low and moderate income, because that would mean a lot of people would be struggling, and there would be economic issues. So that grant's not available. So in talking to business people in the community, we've been hooked up with some individuals and groups that work on grants, and this was as of today, and a meeting has been set up for us to meet with some developers to talk to them about opportunities. And so this would be a collaborative exploration to bring information back to the town council. So that's a long story to say that basically we've got a planning grant going on for all the capital infrastructure, and now we may have an opportunity for some funding for a downtown revitalization plan, which we can mesh together here. Sort of all happening at once, changing the project from the initial little sidewalk we wanted to get replaced. But
7 years ago.
I know, and we've gone through all of this and going around to where the project will be totally different, and they have extensive federal funding coming in, which will be great. And then we can apply for some other state grants too. Thank you.
All right, so we're all set
We are.
through D. All right, so let's move on to number 4, public hearings. Catherine, take a deep breath, and let's start with ordinance 23-03, please.
Very good, thank you. Ordinance 23-03, public hearing. Town of Pittsfield ordinance authorizing borrowing of up to $1,250,000. The Town of Pittsfield Town Council hereby ordains the borrowing of up to $1,250,000 to finance costs of the certain capital improvements in the town as identified herein on the following terms. 1. Pursuant to the Constitution of the State of Maine, Maine law, including Title 30A, Section 5772 of the Maine Revised Statutes as amended, and the town charter, and all other authority thereto enabling, the town of Pittsfield is authorized to borrow from the Maine Municipal Bond Bank, the bank, pursuant to a loan agreement between the town and the bank, or through a private banking or financing institution upon the terms and conditions mutually agreed upon by the bank and the town, subject to the limitations of this ordinance, a principal amount not to exceed $1,250,000, and to expend the proceeds therefore for one or more of the following projects. 1. Up to $1 million for the purpose of paving roads within the town and or site preparation related to such paving. 2. Up to $70,000 for repairs and improvements to certain town-owned bridges and culverts. And 3. Up to $180,000 for the purchase or lease purchase of a dump truck to be used by the town. The town hereby approves and authorizes the issue, sale, and delivery to the bank or another lender as evidence of any loan and against payment therefore, the bonds of the town in a principal amount not to exceed $1,250,000 for a term not to exceed 20 years, and any notes in anticipation of such bonds and notes to be executed on behalf of the town by the town treasurer and countersigned by the mayor of the town, and to be at certain interest rates, if any, as may be established by the bank for its fall 2023 issue or another lender, and approved by the treasurer and the mayor with such maturities, dates, denominations, place of payment, paying agent, registrar, form, and other terms and conditions as may be prescribed by the bank or another lender, and is approved by the treasurer and the mayor, the bonds and the notes. Such approval to be conclusively evidenced by their execution of the bonds and notes. The treasurer and mayor are hereby authorized to provide on behalf of the town that any of the bonds may be made redeemable or callable with or without premium prior to maturity. 2. The mayor, the treasurer, and other proper officials of the town be and are hereby authorized in its name and on its behalf to execute and deliver under the seal of the town attested by its clerk any agreements, certificates, or other documents relating to the issuance of the bonds and any notes in anticipation thereof to be in the usual and ordinary form utilized by the bank or another lender, which is hereby approved, and to contain such other terms and provisions not contrary to the general tenure hereof, as the treasurer may approve, with his approval to be conclusively evidenced by his execution thereof. The mayor, the treasurer, and other proper officials of the town be and hereby are authorized and empowered in its name and on its behalf to do or cause to be done all such acts and things as may be deemed necessary or desirable in order to effect the borrowing authorized herein. 3. The mayor and the treasurer are hereby authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town a loan application and other applications to the bank or any other lender as needed for approval to issue the bonds or notes. 4. The mayor and the treasurer and other municipal officers and officials of the town be and are hereby authorized in its name and on its behalf to do or cause to be done all such acts and things as may be necessary or desirable in order to effect the issuance, sale, and delivery of the bonds or notes in anticipation thereof, herein above authorized, including to execute all documents and certificates as may be necessary or appropriate in connection with the sale of the bonds. The town is authorized to issue general obligation bonds, anticipation notes, in anticipation of such bonds, such notes to be signed by the town treasurer and countersigned by the mayor, and to be sealed with the seal of the town and attested by its clerk, and to be in such form and contain such terms and provisions as the officers executing the same may approve, their approval to be conclusively evidenced by their execution thereof. 6. The town covenants and certifies that as to any of the bonds and notes that are issued with the intent that interest thereon be exempt from federal income taxation, no part of the proceeds of the issue and sale of such bonds and notes authorized to be issued by the foregoing, including any notes and bonds and renewal thereof, shall be used directly or indirectly in such manner which would cause such bonds or notes of the town to be private activity bonds or arbitrage bonds within the meaning of sections 141 and 148 respectively of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, the code. 7. This ordinance shall take effect 30 days after its adoption. The end.
You get an ovation. Wow. That was impressive. I forgot what we're supposed to do now. So with that narration, I'll look for a motion from the council, please.
Move we open discussion
Yep.
on ordinance 2303 for public hearings.
Second. Moved and second. Okay. This ordinance 2303, as written and just read, is open for discussion. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about ordinance 23-03? In favor or against? Everyone knows exactly what it means. It's kind of a challenge. All right, very well. I will close to public input. Council, any questions or comments on this? I dare you. And we kind of went through it fine-tooth comb last time. Anything at all? So all that effort is going to probably be the quickest vote, Catherine.
It is.
Good job. It was very efficient. So here and now, I censor and vote. All those in favor of ordinance 23-03, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Ordinance 23-03 passes. So let's move on to ordinance 23-04, please, Catherine.
Ordinance 23-04, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that a lot of land at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport be leased to Larry Otto, being a 120-foot by 150-foot parcel designated on Exhibit A, the official Pittsfield Municipal Airport lease map as Lot N, and further that the town manager be authorized to execute an airport land lease and rights agreement with Larry Otto, depicting the terms of the lease for a period of 20 years with a renewal option for 2 periods of 10 years each at the beginning rate of 7 cents per square foot.
Look for a motion, please.
Move we open discussion on ordinance 23-04 for public hearing.
Second. Moving second. Thank you, gentlemen. So once again, the one is 23-04 is set to public hearing. Any one in the audience have anything they wish to speak or ask, either for or against ordinance 23-04? Very agreeable crowd, I like this. All right, very well, I shall close the public input. Council, any questions or comments? Once again, discussed ad nauseum prior. Very well. Hearing none, I sense a ready vote. All those in favor of ordinance 23-04, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Ordinance 23-04 passes. So with that, let's move on to reports. Number 5, Finance Committee. Any report?
Planning to meet next Monday, and I gave Catherine an agenda earlier today.
Monday or Tuesday?
Monday.
Monday, okay, you changed it. I think I have my calendar
Yeah,
Tuesday.
but
Okay.
we need to make it Monday. Well, if that's all right with you, Catherine.
I'm gonna have to work on that.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, we could,
I'll work on that.
yeah. And I sent you an agenda too.
Yes, and I haven't gotten into the rest of the 300 or 400 emails yet.
Okay.
I'll look for it tonight.
All set, Jason?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, very good. Ordinance Committee, any report? No, no report. All right, thank you very much. Catherine, let's bring up the Planning, Parks, Recreation, and Recycling, please.
Yes, very quickly, the planning board met the last week of April. Several items on their agenda approved the site plan review application for Larry Otto's hangar. So that is very good. Next, we'll be headed to the airport committee for the final approval. There are other items on the agenda that we're getting some legal advice on, because we haven't done a rezoning or conditional use application in the residential area for a long time. Residential areas that back up to commercial areas in some cases. So we're getting some legal advice. There are several projects that are ongoing that likely will show up for a May planning board meeting or a June planning board meeting, so we're leaving things open right now so that people have time to get their applications in, but likely there'll be a meeting of the planning board that will be announced for near the end of May and then one in June. Recreation, I know, has been working very hard on all of the spring sports, which is the busiest time of the year for them. Recycling is scheduled for their next meeting on May 17th, a Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
All right, so let's segue right into the town manager's report, if you would, please. I know there's a few things already discussed.
Yes, some items have already been discussed, so I'll be very brief. Copies are out to the public, and then it gets placed on the town website. So we want to remind everyone that Founders Open House at MCI. There will be a celebration for the Founders Open House for all the wonderful work that's been done. That will be held on Saturday, May 6, 2023, from 9 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. People can drop in anytime. Any of the counselors just send back your invitation or let me know when I can sign you up. There's a whole schedule that is on the MCI website. We wanted to announce on the number 3 that for code enforcement coverage, we're very thankful that Travis Gould, our alternate CEO, is able to cover for several weeks, quite a few weeks, while Alton Pester was out on leave. He's been out for several months and returned on April 28th to a standing ovation of people. So that was good. Travis did a great job, but Al is wonderful. Number 4, airport grants. We are going through FAA reimbursements for all of the airport grants. Requests have been made for reports on everything, and there are many due dates on the grants, especially we have a lot of airport stuff going on. We have our main DOT CIP capital improvement plan meeting for Pittsfield to be held on Wednesday, May 17th, to talk about future airport projects. Caleb Hurt is our airport manager for operations and our fixed base operator, and I'll be attending. Already hit on the Birchwood water main replacement, but I did want to note that the design work will be starting shortly. There'll be an on-site survey at Birchwood Terrace. We're going to start to get the project going. Letters will be going out before the engineering firm goes out. So there'll be letters out so people know about this, so that when they see people wandering around and knocking on their door with identification, they will know who they are. Once we have an idea of the funding that we've applied for, if we're able to be so fortunate as to get the congressional directed funding or some other funding, which we're still pursuing, more funding opportunities, we'll get the schedule reset and may have an informational meeting for people in that area if they're interested. We have requested state approval so we can start drawing down on the funds, and we've been sent about 10 different forms to fill out. So we know we're on our way here with the federal funding. Lots of economic development projects popping up with people wanting to apply for new businesses and get grants from the town and everything. So we're scheduling appointments on relevant projects. And skipping down, still advertising for a full-time code enforcement officer. We spent a lot of money on this. Towns are sharing code enforcement officers and certainly having issues with that. Library director, I got 41 application materials, mostly from out of state. This has been kind of crazy. But when I started getting down, looking at the Indeed, people have signed up stating they have library background that actually don't. So I think we have a lot less applications. I've run everything out and I've got quite a stack to go through. I wanted to know, we were very pleased on the gravel roads that the town has already gone out to grade the roads, and people have been very happy and calling the town office to say they are happy. The road got paved from people that normally call to state it needs to be, graded, that it normally needs to be graded. We're working with a vendor that has a new grader, and they've allowed the town for a price to rent that grader. Recycling projects, the contractor's been notified that we will be purchasing the containers that we talked about at the last meeting. He was ecstatic, and he understood that the attorney was away for the additional language that was needed. He was all set with that, no problem. Lots of insurance applications that we need to file, and extensive grant reports that need to be done. But I did want to note one item that is not on the town manager's report, and this is rather exciting. The school, through its superintendent and her staff, the police chief and myself have been working on how to provide school resource officers, community resource officer coverage. So we have a proposal that everybody has agreed on that would provide for half-time SRO, a community resource, or just a police officer in the schools. And that has been approved by the school to be placed in the budget that goes out to referendum. So this is an excellent mid-step to then going and applying for a grant at a later date. So everybody was ecstatic that this could happen, and we just got notification today. So that was a great information. Thank you.
Excellent, great news. About that, does that have Detroit Borough involvement with that?
They're part of the school budget. We were asked to go do this through the school. So at a later date, I'm sure that they'll have the chief out to talk about what's going to happen.
Because I know last time we talked about this, we had discussed approaching the other towns directly, not necessarily through the school. That's great news. It's fantastic news.
Yes, I have one question on one of the items. Number 5, funding for Birchwood water main. I'm trying to get some clarification because I believe last year we discussed a project and loan for Birchwood, Honeywell Avenue, or Library Street. There was an opportunity to receive loans at 1% interest for some projects that we were looking at doing in conjunction with paving. If I recall, we eliminated the Library Street for a couple of reasons. One, the water and sewer had been identified as fair condition, so it's sustainable for now. And also it was the ability to keep, with the loans, keep the water rate increase at under 10%. We were originally it was going to be at 12%. So I'm wondering why we didn't move forward with that, because I believe that we had unanimous consent and direction to move forward with that, and why we're still now in 2023 looking for funding.
because we didn't have all the money. We were granted, because there was ARPA funding available, a design grant only for the water. So we got a design grant only for Library Street, which does not have to be paid back if we never do anything afterwards, if we don't go forward. If we did go forward and did a project on Library Street, which we wouldn't because of the condition, we'd have to roll it into the loan and pay back for it. We got a design grant only for Birchwood Terrace. That was approximately $57,000. So we've been struggling trying to find the other money so that we could start the project. We were approved for the clean water, which is the sewer part, entirely for Birchwood Terrace, which was excellent.
Right, but I just thought that the loan was the cover for the other money, because we basically said we would never be approved for, the consensus was at that time that we would never be approved for the grant portion for the water. We had an opportunity to borrow the money at the lowest interest rate available, which is 1%, and that we were going to be able to tie that into paving projects coming up in 2022 and 2023.
That's for the clean water, which we did very well on. We scored high on the water part, not the sewer, which is what you're talking about, and we did get approved for that. On the water part, we were not approved for the construction part.
Right, no, we said that, because we said that the sewer was going to be self-sufficient, it was going to take care of itself, that there was no additional increase on the sewer side.
Correct.
On the water side, because we were going to take the loans, instead of seeking grant money, we were going to seek the loan amount for the full amount of the water main repair and replacement through loans at 1%, and that there was going to be a 9.6 to 9.8% water rate increase to cover that. And that was supposed to have been taking place during last year's budget. And I'm trying to figure out in my mind why we're still looking at it.
We were denied the loan funding from the drinking water program.
Okay.
Yeah. So no construction money was approved at the 1% or 0% or any percent. But on the clean water, we did very well when we were approved. And in talking with all of our associates, we did not want to do part of the project and then go back and dig it up later on and leave it all patched and everything. So we continued to apply for funding for the water construction part. So basically, you've got 2 design grants. So we're all set for design for water and sewer. And we've got construction monies for sewer, but no construction for water, which is what we really need. So this turned into reapplying for some of the loan funding again, which we were turned down again. We just don't score well because of the reasons that I noted. And then the congressionally directed funding.
Sure.
I haven't been able to find anything else.
So I'm guessing then that if that's going to be the case and we're going to continue to kind of kick this ball down the road, Jason, what do you think? Should we have that as a finance committee agenda item in the next month or so to start looking at options for us and what we would want to do to try to get that moving, right? Because that's a street that has much need of repair on the water side, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So what will happen on the congressional directed funding? We were told 2 to 3 months we'll know. So in the meantime, we can be looking at an actual regular loan, which will be expensive.
No, it will be, but I think it's something that we need to start putting in place, right? Because I don't know how many years it's been talked about, but I know that it'd be nice to be able to get that taken care of, because that is definitely a constant source of frustration. So
yeah, we found out about the Birchwood Terrace funding last month that we had been turned down, and then we went directly to congressional directed funding.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I got a question. Catherine, I've only been on the council this time 4 months, and I'm tired of saying this, and others have been on it for longer, so I'm sure they're also tired. The computer financial system. The issue with billing and the efficiencies that folks are losing upstairs. When is this going to be put to bed? Are we going to to see a final fix, or, I mean, this has been hanging on. I've seen this on every report since the beginning of the year. So, and, you know, I understand that there are meetings that have been held, but the issues are still, you know, you get fixes and then they work and don't work, you know? I mean, this is an absurd situation for, you know, a town of 4,000 people with a budget of $8.5 million a year that can't get the computers working right. I just don't understand it.
We have spent a massive amount of time with the vendor. The vendor has tried to make the fixes from the new software that was purchased because we had to after the data conversion that took place last August. And yes, it's been extremely difficult. We're aware of other communities that have had issues too, and issues have continued. They're less with the budgetary and the taxes, but the water sewer continues to be an issue.
So
we're going to have
what are other towns doing that are quote unquote having the same problem? You know, are
trying
they
to work
tolerating
through
it?
this. Yeah, trying to work through this. There may be some, we're going to reach out and see if they've gone to other software, maybe for just the water sewer part. Yes, this is extremely frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
I never thought that any data conversion would be this difficult and have this many issues. And it's definitely been an experience. I will say the vendor has tried. Their software expert has spent an extensive amount of time on this town as well as others trying to fix these items. This was software that they had rolled out and we got behind back in April of the year before when we were going to switch over. And if they had told us at that point that they weren't switching over because there were issues with the software program, we might have changed our mind and going with that program. But we were at the point where there was no maintenance available for the old program, which did work really well. So yes, we're going to meet with the water operator, sewer operator, pulling information from some other towns that they're gathering on issues that are there too, and then continue forward here. But we may need a different program for water sewer.
Okay. Can we run that eventually through the finance committee if necessary also?
All set? All set?
Yeah.
Heather?
I have a couple questions. One of them was kind of talking about that a lot of the issues seem to drain from water sewer, and one thing that we talked about years ago was to have a private contractor handle our billing so that it wasn't like within the town system anymore. And if that is something that we would want to address in the next budget, or even with the finance committee, to start kind of looking at efficiencies that we can gain in that, and having that done. I had a second thing, but I forgot what it was. We started talking about that.
So that's the last step to go forward. We're going to try to revamp everything that has been the changes that Tria was made to the program, go over that with the other contractor that's involved, and see if this is salvageable or not.
Almost like we're halfway through this dream. Put so much time and effort.
Oh, I know. That's why.
We need to uncook the back compartment and just let it float away, and then
Let it flow down.
away.
Let it flow down the waterline.
We would all like that to be done.
Anything else, council? All right, very well. Let's move on to old business, please. Order 23-24, please, Catherine.
Order 23-04, table. Order that the town council hereby authorizes the town library appraisal to maintain equitable assessments, and such authorization to execute the agreement for the town library appraisal requires the appropriation of funds for this project as follows. 3/3 with revaluation completion date 2026. Amount and year required. For the 2024 commitment, $40,000 is the amount. The year required is 2023. For the 2025 commitment, $40,000 is required. The year required is 2021. For the 2026 commitment, $40,000 is required for year 2025, $91,500 also in 2025, being putting the commitment together beyond going out with the reviews of the properties. For the 2026 commitment to finish the project, $61,000 in year 2026, for a total of $272,500. Be it ordered that these funds are to be appropriated in each of the years listed above.
Motion from the council, please. Take it up, Debbie.
Can we take order 23-04 off the table, open for discussion?
Second.
Moved and seconded is off table, open for discussion. So before we get into discussion, the questions or anything like that, Mr. Robert Duplessis is here. He really has no presentation, but he promised me he will avail himself at any and all questions that come, right? Any and all.
Any and all.
Okay. So with that, anyone in the audience have any questions or comments concerning resolution, order 2304? Very well, I'll close the public input. Council, any questions or comments on order 23-04?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
My biggest question is why is there so much funding needed in 2026 or 2025 rather than having it spread out throughout the years of the contract?
The amount
From a
of
budgeting point of view,
Sure.
it'd be like,
it's the amount of work we're doing every year. We're doing all phases of a revaluation, which is traditionally a 1-year cycle in the budget, and skipping it over 4 years. So we're taking the town, separating the 3 sections, and visiting the properties in those 3 sections, those 3 years. That's why that number is at 40. The 3rd year will be the final 3rd reviews of the properties, and the vast majority of the rest of the revaluation, doing a sales analysis, updating our cost schedules, going out, verifying these sales, putting the final review together. And then usually a typical contract that we retain a certain amount of money in lieu of a performance bond. We retain 20% of the value of the contract until after the taxpayer hearings are done, which goes into later, the next calendar year, if you will. So we'll do the vast majority between the 25 and 26 commitments.
is there a way to condense it? Is the 3-year or 4-year review process, is that at the town's request or is that what your work schedule can accommodate?
That's what my proposal was, that's 3 or 4 years.
And that's based on like what your company's work schedule can be and then
Correct.
this extra work into it?
Correct. Correct.
So clarification on that, I had the opportunity to speak with Zeb Pike.
Okay.
And Zeb and I were classmates together. And I was talking with a friend from Winslow. They're going through this process now and asked me a couple questions. So he explained it to me was that you don't do a section of the town and their taxes get adjusted like that. You wait till the whole town's done and then you compare them all. Then that's where you come up, the tide rises with all the votes.
It's a little bit of a blend where the reviews that we would go out and do in those first 2 years, if there's anything on the face of the earth that we don't have on our records for whatever reason, we will start assessing that year, only because we should be finding that anyway. It's always been a cat and mouse game to find things that weren't permitted or permits expired and people built later. So the immediate things will be changed because they should be changed. Just like if you took a building permit out for a certain item, we find other items on the ground that we don't have, we're obligated to add those. What we don't change, and the tide that raises all boats, is right now we're dealing with a revaluation that was done in the 90s with a few adjustments for time. Our values are running, if you look at what we're assessing something at, what it's selling for, we're in the 70% range. So raising that level to the 70% range we're at now to 100% of market value, that's the rising of all boats that we have to do between 2 commitment cycles. Because it's unfair to assess that third of the town at market value 2025 and everybody else at 20,000. So that's why. And this proposal, yes, it's because of the time that we had to do this. But it's kind of a new way of doing these revals. We're doing the same thing for the town of Fairfield, just 1 year ahead. The reviews, and then the final reval, it helps budgets immensely. The final number to do this project doesn't change whether we do it over 4 years or 1 year. So it's kind of a balance that way. I think it works out really well.
So for clarification, just so I'm clear on this, you have property last time, or what you show on the town records by permits, whatnot, it's a house with an outbuilding. But now it's a house with 2 outbuildings and another garage. That you would assess, and the taxes would be assessed at that new value immediately. You wouldn't wait for the whole cycle because that's obviously new and it doesn't need a comparison like a neighborhood kind of
Well, yes,
comparison.
assess that immediate year, but not at the new value, at the old value. Because right now,
Right.
a brand new garage is permitted, we have a cost per square foot for that garage, and we would add that garage in at that level. That's where the fairness is. So we would continue to do that until we change the schedules all the way throughout the town.
So conceivable, let's say there's a property that you get for the first year that you go through that has those types of improvements. It's going to be evaluated at when the last evaluation done, so you're going to have an increase on a bump on the taxes based on new evaluation, and potentially another bump after the entire town is looked at as a whole in the next 2 or 3 years when you're done. Is that
Correct, but I don't like the term bump. We're picking things that should have been found. It's something that's been omitted.
Or things not done,
Correct.
right? So we put down a garage.
Right.
That's right, something, but usually we will be made aware when something is removed.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Go ahead.
So a couple things. The commitment rate, where do you see that going over the next 3 years? I know that we had been at 100% up until this year, then it's dipped to what, 94-ish?
Yes, 92.
92.
This past year, I just got the report from the state today. We're dipping to 81 this year. Because the market is going up that quickly.
So that's going to have a significant impact on the homestead exemption.
The homestead has to be adjusted by law down to that 81%. So the full homestead is 25,000. We can give 81% of that.
So to a point that Mike made a moment ago, we may feel some pain now because we're going to lose some of these homestead exemptions over the next 3 years during the evaluation process. But once the reval is done, our rates will be more in line with current market, correct?
Correct.
And then we would see that rise in our commitment rate go back up to near
Correct.
100%, which would then increase our homestead exemption, potentially offsetting any of those changes.
You remember the snowball effect? I think Eric had mentioned it too, talking about the mill rate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's old numbers, the mill rate would actually get down. That helps our finance, helps our borrowing power and everything else.
Absolutely. Our mill rate will potentially drop, obviously, that's what we're going to be looking at. The tax commitment burden shouldn't change much at all.
It will not.
It will not actually be any type of increase. This evaluation is not to gain more money, it's just to put valuations
Right, to
closer.
redistribute the burden.
Right.
But if we raise $8.5 million from the town, school, pay the county, this doesn't affect that at all. It's how it gets distributed. The other thing about it, when we have to lower our rate down to 81%, it's called the certified ratio. By law, that means that all of our personal property assessments, our business equipment tax, that has to be lowered. So, because we're saying the state, we're acknowledging that our real estate's at 81% of market value. Therefore, when all these declarations from these companies come in saying this is their cost, we have to bring that down to 81%, to be fair. And that will help that immensely.
Right. I just wanted to say that because anytime somebody hears tax reval, they think, oh my God, they're coming after more. And that's really not at all
It is not.
what we're trying to do. We're trying to just appropriate it in the right areas.
And you're right. And it's not like there's no big shift. And the other towns that I work in, it's got, high-end waterfront, lakefront, oceanfront. You see a shift to those type of properties.
Sure.
What we have for housing here is pretty much the same. The valuation method. We have a few pockets in town that are a little bit more desirable, a little less desirable. But the vast majority of it will be the same. So you shouldn't see a big shift.
Okay. What's up? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes, Scott.
Question. With respect to the the new ruling in the state with respect to older citizens who don't, increase their tax burden.
The stabilization program.
Yeah. So, what effect will that have on anything? Now, if this goes into effect and if it continues, will the stabilization act over the next 3 years at the current rate, and then when the revaluation is done, assuming that the mill rate goes down, we would stay at the same rate theoretically?
The stabilization program, for the people who qualified, their taxes are frozen at the 2022 level right now.
Okay.
We just finished all 200 and something of them, and letters are going in the mail tomorrow for the people who qualified. So they're stabilized at that rate, whatever the tax was last year. So if through this process, either by picking up something that we didn't have, it will not increase their tax. The statute says at the stabilized rate or lower. So if some great thing was to happen and our mill rate would go down this year, everybody who stabilized would get the lower tax and then restabilize at that lower number. As long as the program stays as it is right now.
Correct.
So this won't change those folks at all.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Anything else, council? Excuse me. Yes, please.
This here says that there's $40,000 required for the tax commitment year of 2023. Is that something that was already incorporated in the budget last year, Catherine, for this year?
Because the rate was going down so quickly and we were worried about getting this done, we have $31,000 in the account. So we would have to transfer in some money at the end of the year to make the payments for the $40,000, which is doable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it possible within the budgeting process to kind of even out what these payments would be? And this would be like on our end, not necessarily on payments to you, but for allocation of funding for this project, can the council have delineated the $90,666 per year for the next 3 years in a way that we allocate it, but then we know we're not going to spend it all and we carry it over to the following year so that we have already accrued that final payment before we have this big jump in that line item for that last year? Does that make sense?
Kind of smooth out the balloon payment.
Smooth out that curve or that jump a little bit. So instead of like having low, 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 and then this ginormous payment, that we have a little bit higher payment for the 3 years, and it's equal and it's more stabilized than having these numbers.
It's like making payments on the principal, not just the regular monthly
Kind of,
payment.
yeah.
You know, we know we're going to have 40,000. You know, if we allocate 60 or so, knowing we're only going to pay 40.
90.
90. Yeah. Well, if we spread it out over the 3 or 4 years,
3 years.
anyway, right?
Yeah, it's 90.
Yeah,
plus.
90.
If you did, we would have to make a special order to carry it forward and put it in a special account. Yes, it can be done.
We'll be talking about that in just a few months. Don't take my laughter. We're looking forward to it. Okay. Anything else, council? All right.
Do we get an option tonight? Is that what we're doing? Option 1 or 2?
Option 1 or 2.
Is that what it says? Or is it-
We'll be doing four quarters or 3/3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or either way.
I put it down for the option that we could get this done quicker, but you could go with the option that made another year.
No, I mean, I'm good with, but are we supposed to make a decision on that?
On
Yes.
this
Right.
order 2304.
Yeah, it's on the order
Okay.
for the more reduced option.
Anything else, Jason? All set with that?
Yeah.
We good, council? Very well. Here and none, I sense ready to vote. All those in favor of order 23-04, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Order 23-04 passes. So let's move on to resolution 23-28, please.
Resolution 23-28 table. Resolved that the town council accept the bid of RJD Appraisal for a townwide reappraisal to maintain equitable assessments in the amount of $40,000 for 2023, $40,000 for 2024, $131,500 for 2025, and $61,000 for 2026, for a total of $272,000. Waive any technicalities in the bid, and authorize the town manager to execute the town's general services contract for same.
I'll look for a motion from the council, please.
Motion, we remove resolution 23-28 from the table and open for discussion.
Second.
Moved and second, thank you very much. Any, I should go to the audience first. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about resolution 23-28? It's essentially the approval segues into order 23-04. All right, hearing none from the audience, I will close for public input. Council, any questions or comments?
Just a follow-up on my comment a minute ago. Does this, voting on this, commit us to spending that much money in those years, Catherine, or do we still have the flexibility to even out that spending if we want to come budget time?
So this is a payment to the contractor. If
Okay.
you want to budget differently, that's fine,
Okay.
as long as it meets that requirement.
All set, Heather?
Yes, thank you.
All right, very well. Anything else, council? Very well, hearing none, I sense we are ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 23-28, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, resolution 23-28 passes. Catherine, let's move on to resolution 23-22, please.
Resolution 23-22, tabled to May 2nd, 2023. Resolved that the town council reallocate funding of up to $9,000 originally approved for celebration items from the funding available in the special revenue centennial account for the cost of an electronic display sign for town-related announcements.
Look for a motion from the council, please.
Move we remove this from the table and open discussion on this resolution 23-22.
Second. Moved to second. Thank you, gentlemen. I will open to public input. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments on this?
Would you like me to say something?
Well, it's open to everyone, even you, Mr. Lutz.
I would, yes, I think this is a great addition. People can ride by and find out what's happening. So, and there was some money left over. So, I think it's we didn't get the boat launch, so just action is probably a little bit more valuable for most of the folks in town. So I would hope that the council would approve this.
I have seen these, once we started talking about it some time ago, I see them everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been through a town that doesn't have one.
Town's smaller than a year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anything else from the audience? Questions or comments? Very well, I will close the public input. Council, any questions or comments? Yes, Doc.
Since I was more or less the instigator on this resolution, I've spoken to Hillary, who's been doing some research on some of the vendors, and although the estimates we've gotten are far exceed the $9,000 we're committing to it, I'm hoping that this is important enough that if we commit the $9,000 and set it aside now, that come budget time, we can find some complementary funds that might be able to get us a sign that's appropriate, so that it becomes another thing that the town of Pittsfield can be proud of. So, I'm all for it.
All right, thank you, Doc. Anything else from the council? Yes, Heather, please.
I'd love to see this account preserved for celebration purposes, and especially where we have so much happening in the next couple years with the downtown, the potential for new business openings and things like that, as well as being able to just celebrate accomplishing that giant project that we've been talking about for years and years, and push this project for the digital sign to Peak to see if Peak would address that as an economic development item instead of utilizing the funding that was originally put in place for the bicentennial celebration and community events versus a sign.
Okay.
And Peak is having another meeting in June. We have a meeting coming up in
June
June that could address that.
June 6th.
Anything else, council?
I mean, if nothing, if this project isn't ready to move forward because all the funding isn't there, then holding it over until after the Peak meeting and then putting it to Peak, whether that would be a project that they would want to address, wouldn't change.
How are they going to fund it?
Peak has funding from, they have funding available.
So I would say, I mean, my thought is if we put it into this account as the resolution calls for, and if it does need to be moved back, we can certainly move it back. But if Pete does have the wherewithal and the funding to do that without touching this, then we can certainly put it back in the original account. I mean, this is actually the first step to move to that point. I mean, this is what this resolution is about. I mean, it's not a one-way street, I guess is what I'm saying. And not having it in one account or another, certainly not a reason why we can't bring it forward to Peak anyway. I mean, it's probably not a bad idea. I mean, let me rephrase that. That's a good idea. I was accentuating the negative. You know, that is a good idea.
Is that double negative?
Yeah, the double negative comes out of positive.
Is there an actual proposal for the sign yet? As
No,
far as like,
this is just to
sign
move the
and
funds
cost
to
or
work on it.
So,
Well, we know what the size needs to be in the setbacks, right, Kevin?
Yes. Yes, we've tested out the setbacks. 2 code officers have looked at it over the years. So there's several sites that you go on in town, the town owns.
Anything else, council?
Well, I mean, if we don't have we really don't have the funds now to buy it anyway, I guess waiting until after the June Peak meeting doesn't change anything, right?
What do you mean?
If we just put this on, if we table this until after that meeting? And then if they fund it, then we just cancel this resolution?
Well, that's certainly an option. It's active, but no action's taken this evening.
I mean, I guess I don't see the point of moving it and then moving it back.
Well, the thing about Pete getting involved, that's been an option with this resolution for a total of 1 minute and 38 seconds.
That's a good point.
You know, so this was set up, I mean, it's been several years, you and I have chatted about it, and Doc, you and I have talked about this, and this is actually, I mean, this idea, I thought it was an excellent idea, it came about not that long ago. I mean, that's what this resolution acts for. And the thing is, though, moving on this, it's not a one-way street. It doesn't mean that if we find out there's a better deal or Peak is more successful or something else that comes up that we can't move it back.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a bicentennial committee, I mean, they came up with the idea actually to do that.
Okay.
And I thought it was an excellent idea.
We committed these funds 3 years ago to this. So.
Oh, you did? All right.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Fine.
That's good.
not to the sign.
No, we committed to put it away.
The funds.
Yeah.
Okay, for one purpose. So now it's the option to commit it to another purpose.
I have told the public, but I will.
I guess, as a member of Peak, I have a question.
Yep.
I just want to know, Howie, what is the estimates you've gotten so far?
Double-sided sign, probably looking at 20 plus.
Okay.
Anything else, council? All right, hearing none, I sense ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 23-22, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, we shall poll the council, and we will start with Councilor Margolski.
Aye.
Councilor Frost.
Aye.
Councilor Jester.
Aye.
Councilor Hall.
Aye.
Councilor Salsier.
Aye.
Councilor Donahue.
Nay.
And I shall vote aye. So that's 6-1. Resolution 23-22 passes. Thank you all very much, Catherine. Let's move on to new business. Ordinance 23-05, please.
Ordinance 23-05, set the public hearing on May 16, 2023, that the town council hereby ordains that a lot of land at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport be leased to Calvin Theobald, being a 50-foot by 50-foot parcel designated on Exhibit A, the official Pittsfield Municipal Airport lease map as Lot G, and further that the town manager be authorized to execute an airport land lease and rights agreement with Calvin Theobald, depicting the terms of the lease for a period of 20 years with a renewal option for 2 periods of 10 years each at the beginning rate of 7 cents per square foot.
Look for a motion to council, please.
Move we set ordinance 2305 to public hearing on 5/16/2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. So this is discussion to move the ordinance to public hearing. Not the pros and cons thereof. It's very similar to the one that we just passed previously. Any questions or comments from the council? Excuse me, I'll start with the audience. Anyone in the audience have anything they'd like to speak? Pro or con about setting the public hearing? Very well. I will close to public input. Council. Any questions or comments?
I just had one quick. When we set things to public hearing, does it cost us more in advertisement?
We have to have an ad, yes, so we have the smallest ad possible.
Right. So if we're going to keep having these every week because they just decide to build another one, they need to, I would think they should consolidate this. We have one public hearing for, say, 10 of these lots, and we do it that way. We don't have one of these every 2 weeks and cost us X amount of money more.
Do we have more
by
that
advertising?
are looking for leases?
We may have more.
But nothing current.
Currently, there aren't any at the table. There have been calls. What we may want to do is, and I've thought about this, is because they want to move fast and come to this facility and are looking at other facilities, we want to accommodate them if there's land, there's plenty of land. So what we may want to do is go to the fee schedule and add a fee for these so we can cover our advertising costs. That might be something to consider.
I'm just like,
That's a good idea.
multiple weeks in a row of public hearings, so.
Yeah, it's unusual, but I think it's going to keep going.
I was gonna say we could do, that sounds like a really good idea, much more simpler. I was thinking along the lines of having like a quarterly opportunity for people to put in for leases and then be able to do it and like designate certain times because they have to go before the planning board, right?
Yes.
Is the planning board step first and then they come? Do they have to get approval there first before coming?
So in this case, this is that 40-year lease for $1 that was negotiated by the council back in the 1980s. So we would want to accommodate them and move them forward. They will not have to go to have a site plan review, but all the other ones that have a new land lease will have to, yes.
So this is just a renewal of their lease with an updated version of the lease then?
Pardon?
This one's
Just
a new one.
renewal of their lease with the updated costs? Because they're leasing the same thing if they've already been leasing it along.
Well, they had, there was a 40-year lease given out to a variety of people back in the 1980s. So this would be a new lease with all the proper language and the new cost, not the dollar. And so we're going to negate out the old one that has a couple of years on it and go to this one. They don't need to go anyplace else, just get approved by the town council.
So does this need to be a public hearing?
Yes.
Because they already have a lease?
No, this is the new one.
It's going to be a
This is
new
a
one.
new
So it's scrapping the whole thing and they
Yes.
get all new language
Yes.
on everything, not just the pricing?
Yes.
Okay.
A new contract, new wording.
Correct.
Anything else, council? Very well. Here and now, I sense we're ready to vote All those in favor of setting ordinance 23-05 public hearing on 5/16, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Ordinance 23-05 will be set to public hearing on May 16th, 23. Catherine, let's move on to resolution 23-36, please.
Resolution 23-46, resolved that the town council determines that ATV travel within the public way of the dead-end Sibley Pond Road may be conducted safely and will not interfere with vehicle traffic on the public way as long as the ATV use is on the right-hand side of the roadway. Therefore, the town council hereby designates an ATV access trail on the Sibley Pond Road for 1.1 miles.
Look for a motion of the council, please.
We adopt resolution 23-36.
Second. Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the audience? Yes, Donnie.
Yeah, as a public works director, I went out and worked on this project, just looking at the scope and what they were looking at for making that trail as part of the road as part of the trail. I think it's a great idea. It's a good way to help support our local ATV clubs. I did send an email to Catherine. One of the recommendations I did put on there was to have a speed limit on that road where it is dirt, so we're not dusting everybody's vehicles. We're going to lose a bunch of fines on that surface. So with the anticipation of a speed limit that they go down 20 miles an hour and not go racing up and down the road at 50 miles an hour, because Mr. Mayor, I'm sure that you'll see the clouds of dust and everybody else will, and the results
How
of
far you make some?
$8,000 worth of road surface. One of the biggest things is $8,000 road surface will be in the woods and everywhere else, so we'll be, going out there at least bi-yearly doing surface, so it's going to be a huge cost.
So I will say, the gentleman that approached me, he has a four-wheeler living at the end of the road, and he'll occasionally go down the road across the bridge and see how the fish are biting, or come to my house and I'll do the same. I don't think I've seen more than two on there. It's not, I don't believe this is not presented by the ATV club, and I don't think they have access out there anyway. Because there's a snowmobile trail out there, but I don't think four-wheelers can
They don't, not
do
at
that trail.
not at the current time.
So you're not going to see regular four-wheeler traffic up and down that road. It's for the convenience of several people that have
For
lived on
the
the
residents
road.
on the pond.
Yeah, so just want to make sure the clarification, because you talk about four-wheelers, the clubs, the trails get beat up, and, I get it.
I know there's been a couple of proposals that I do know coming, switching the trail here for the ATV, for the rail club over in Detroit, and they're talking about making connector trails, so just something to think about now.
Yep. Anyone else in the audience? Chief, you got involved with this? You looked at the road, everything was fine?
All set.
Okay. You had something you want to bring up, Eric?
I like ATV trails, snowmobile trails, and I also like happy landowners. So I just want to make sure that this isn't a through trail, right? This is just Sibley Pond Road.
Just the road.
No connecting trail.
The snowmobile trail is on the very end of it. But that's a snowmobile trail only. There's no four-wheelers for that. There's no four-wheeler trail there.
Well, we groomed that trail going up through there, and I can tell you, there's a lot of wet areas up there, and usually ruts make unhappy landowners.
Yep.
So I'm fine with it just being a local, go check out the fish, whatever. That's great. But
I'll tell you how this started. The gentleman at the end of the road, he approached me and said he was going down the road, go check out the fish, whatever he was doing. And there was a gentleman that had saw him and took offense to the fact that he was on a road that made for cars, whether it's dirt or not. And a warden came and talked to him. So look, all you need to do is just have the town address it, make it accessible for four wheels. That's all you have to do. And there's just this one time this guy said that, and he's actually asked me a couple times on that and reminded me this last time. So,
good.
Council, anything else? Yes, Heather.
I'm wondering if, because this will affect people that live on the road and it's going to change the use of the road, whether it's one person, two persons, or everybody has four-wheelers and they're going everywhere. If this would be something that would be more like a public hearing type thing, as much as we don't want to have more public hearings, so that the people that live on that road have proper notice that this is going to be a permanent change to the travelway on their, in their neighborhood.
Well, this meeting's open to everybody. I mean, everybody knows this meeting's going on. I mean, I don't see where it needs to be. I mean, if there's a legal precedent for it, you don't have to do with traffic.
There's not a requirement for it, is there?
There's not. I would have scheduled it to go to public hearing. It's not a requirement for them.
So this was done, Beans Corner Road, right?
Yes, back in.
Yeah, a section of it, yeah. Anything else, council? Very well, hearing none, I sense we are ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 23-36, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, resolution 23-36 passes. So let's continue to resolution 23-37, please, Catherine.
Resolution 23-37, resolved that the town council approve the request for bids for the borrowing of funds for general obligation bonds for the 2023 capital improvement program and authorize the town manager to issue bids for sale.
I'll look for a motion from council, please.
Move we open discussion and approve resolution 22-37.
Second. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments, audience? For or against? Questions, comments? Very well. I will close the public input. Council. Any questions or comments on resolution 23-37? All right. Very well. Hearing none, I sense we're ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 23-37, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 23-37 passes. Catherine, let's wrap up with resolution 23-38, please.
Resolution 23-38, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the amendment to the contract for professional engineering services in an amount to not exceed $68,300 for the project of construct taxi lane and 6-unit hangar for the Pittsfield Municipal Airport to include design, bid, and construction phase services for hangar development and construction under the Airport Improvement Program AIP project number 3-23-0036-020 and 2021 between the town of Pittsfield and Will Tanner Associates after Maine Department of Transportation originally approval in an amount to not exceed $152,900 with a new total for the contract to not exceed $221,200.
I'll look for a motion from council, please.
Move we open discussion on resolution 23-38, please.
Second. Moved and second. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments? Audience. Yes, Pete.
I have a question. So is this the same contractor that had the problems
Yes.
with the town?
Yes.
Is this a new project, or is this adding to the existing project that was messed up?
It's the same project that had the issues. The contractor is running behind schedule, which then has affected the engineering consultant.
Okay. So that contractor wouldn't be tagged for this amount of money because they're the ones that are causing the problem?
To some extent, I've been advised and was writing from the engineering firm and from the state confirmed that we can get an amendment and there will be some additional funding for the town. And currently the grant is at 100%. I don't know if it will change at some point. I thought it was going to be 95.5, so the 100% we're being reimbursed is very good. And some of this will come from liquidated damages, so the contractor will pay for it because it will be subtracted out of their payment at the end.
So this $68,300 eventually will come back to us by the LDs.
According to the state of Maine and according to the engineering consultant, yes.
So they're referring to contract, they're not just saying it.
Correct.
Yeah, who is this payment of 68,300 to?
It will go to Hoyle Tanner Associates
Okay.
because
So-
they will have additional days for being on site full time because the contractor is running behind
Right.
schedule.
So I'm just going to go with a quick recap because Pete said something that jogged the memory. So this is the same engineering firm that did not lock in a contract that cost the town $300 and some thousand.
That is correct.
And now they're asking us for additional money?
It was
No way
very,
in hell.
it was very irritating to get this. However, if they're not paid, they're not going to be there doing the inspection. And then if the project is shut down because we're required to have that full-time inspection.
How dare they?
Oh, I know.
How dare they?
Yeah.
Don't they be in breach?
Take them to court. We should have done that last year. They gave us, what, $94,000 or something that covered less than a quarter of the damages? Come on. And then said, oh, we can cover it with additional grants that could have been used to pay for additional things in the town? No. This is ridiculous.
So the amendment will take away from the other monies that we have. It will be additional money from the FAA. No, I was pretty irritated for a while there and still am.
Yeah.
However, in the scope of the overall project, if it can't be inspected, the contractor can't move forward, and the town has received over $500,000 for the project to date, and if the project stops and it's terminated, we'll have to pay it back. So unfortunately, they know we're stuck at this point.
So the glass half full is that 68,300 at close of this contract that will be coming back to our coffers.
But we're being assured that by people that can't figure out how to get a contract.
Understood, and that's why I asked the clarification, but I mean, by both the state and the engineering firm saying by contract, that's within our legal rights, I guess we want to call it that.
The monies will be put on the reimbursement form to get reimbursed by the federal government.
This letter also states that should the contractor exceed his time, an additional amendment may be necessary, which means they're just going to come back and ask for more if their contractor can't stay on time. So are they responsible for making sure that the contractors are staying within the time limit that they have given us both for things? Is that their job, or are they just like, I'm here to watch you and you tell me when you're finished and I'll inspect something?
No, they have certain responsibilities. So according to the state of Maine, they're supposed to keep the contractor on task. Some of this, when I look through the reimbursement request, the contractor, some of their testing failed, so they had to go back and fix things and then be retested.
So that's on the contractor, because they did a crappy job the first time, they had to go back and rework it. The contractor should be eating that, and we shouldn't have to be taking that out of other contract funds.
And we ended up with a lesser grade pavement than what was originally spec for the job as well, correct?
Different grade. So is this something we should put in front of the town attorney and have her review this?
Has she been involved?
No.
Well, that's a problem. I think I would have
It's
her
not a
involved.
problem because we're required to do this. We're stuck because if the project shuts down, there'll be another mobilization charge. And if it doesn't go forward, then we have to pay back all of the money.
Out of all the things that we get
I
legal
think
counsel for, I think this is probably something we should get legal
What
counsel.
time frame do we have to act on this?
So when I got this and put it on the agenda, the project would shut down on May 4th or 5th.
The project would shut down?
Yeah, well, the contractor will, the engineer will not inspect beyond that day, and then the contractor can't work.
I think it's something.
So today's May 2nd, and they're gonna shut down May 4th or 5th unless they have $68,300.
Scott Stewart.
But this letter was April 18th.
Yeah, it came in after the last council meeting.
So if they do shut down May 4th or 5th of this week, is there a mobilization get back started. I mean, having the town attorney probably should have been dealt with some time ago. I guess assumptions were made, but shame on us for assuming. If they shut down end of this week, are we talking significant amount of money, or do we know? I mean, we come back, the attorney says, yeah, go ahead and pay it, you're going to get your money back. And then next Thursday they come back, oh, geez, there's another $20,000 because we just sat around and did nothing. I mean, we really don't have an option here. The company that kind of put us in a bind is expecting money because they know they have us in a bind.
We are in a bind.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe we approve it, but this should be laid out for the town attorney and get their legal.
I can do that. I know what she's going
Opinion.
to say,
What?
that we're in a bind.
I don't think that's going to be here.
I'm hoping
Legal
there's not
standard.
going to be additional issues, because I'm anticipating the way this is going, that, you know, we're trying to push the contractor along. Caleb is working on that. I am. The engineering firm is actually doing that. But I expect this. If
So
we get
this-
this without any
this is
additional
thud
money,
tech.
it's being spent,
Hold
we'll
on,
be
hold on.
lucky.
Go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say this is just ridiculous tactics of somebody trying to strong arm and exploit a situation, and I don't understand why we would cave to that.
So
They breached contract. So what grounds would they ever have to stand on with us? I mean,
So who breached the contract?
Foil Tanner, right? Their agreement was to, in good faith, have a contract signed and completed, because they were contracted to do so, right? To be our bid entity.
That was true.
Yeah. And because of their negligence, they caused the town of Pittsfield damages in excess of $390,000. They repaid $90,000 of it, leaving us with liability of over $300,000. And now they're going to strong arm us on 68. I don't see that happening. I mean, what recourse do they have? I don't understand. Well,
The project-
because they're opening themselves up to more potential damages by pushing that issue. If they say, no, I'm not going to do your work for you because you owe me 68, and we go, well, wait a minute, you technically owe us 300. So you really want to get into that kind of war?
I think what puts us in a pinch is that it's an airport project.
Yes.
And I think they understand that.
It's not our project that we can oversee. We're under the state and federal requirements. In HTA's very lengthy agreement with the town, there's a scope of services that says a certain number of days for inspection, and we're going to run out of time. And they get additional money if there's additional days, which is paid for by the federal government. And then the contractor is going to be liable for some damages.
How soon will the federal government pay,
Well, we would submit the additional costs. The federal government has been paying on a monthly basis. Sometimes it takes a couple of months to get the payment, but we put in a reimbursement each month.
And just to reiterate, this is money that we have to put out now. That's a request for us to put out now. But based on LDs and holdbacks on the contract when it's done, we will have that money back. I mean, that's what I'm grasping on, where this is an airport project. Question, it doesn't matter now, I'm just curious, how did Coyle Tanner become the only player in the game? Were they determined by the state we had to use them, or is that who we chose?
There was a process in which we went through, not requests for proposals with pricing, but required to do a request for qualifications, which will be shortly coming up for a new 5-year contract, in which we will put out for qualifications and then choose a contractor.
Well, it won't be them.
I won't
So we were very limited in who we could choose.
Yes, there will be a certain number of contractors.
In Blaine Casey, the same thing?
That was the only bidder.
Okay.
So we'll get the 68 back, but what was the 300? We never got anything of that back. That was out of our
So we submitted an application to get additional funding, and we can get another additional funding later on, but you have to run over on the project to get that. We had to use some of our additional airport funding through ARPA called DLL for that.
And this,
Right, which
this
is
150
Greg's point, like that could have gone towards other things that are necessary. Crack sealing, paving, whatever.
So we lost the money.
Yeah.
We lost funding that could have been appropriated to other projects, and we ended up with a lesser grade of pavement.
And it's late.
And they're coming
And it's late, and they're trying to
from
strong arm us for money.
1 month.
Right.
I think we all agree this is ridiculous, but under the required contract, they can do this.
I think it needs to be laid up for the town attorney, I think.
This is, I mean, a year ago when they sat in front of us, they were here, and I questioned at that time why we didn't hold them to their original. I mean, they're liable for all damages. I don't understand that.
Well, we can certainly follow up after the fact. But the liability we would be exposed to as the town if we say, no, we're not going to pay it, they walk away, work cannot continue unless it's inspected regularly. I mean, that's a state and federal requirement. It's not a town project. And as Catherine had mentioned, then the town would be on the hook for any costs that have been put into it because it wasn't taken to fruition based on what the grant requirement was.
Let me ask you this question: Would they accept? In good faith that they would keep the contractor payment at the end of it? They're asking us to accept something on good faith after they've already broken our faith. So why wouldn't they take on good faith that when the contractor, when they deny the money at the end of it, right, they withhold that payment? They just withhold it in their own damn checking account. I don't care. Why would we send them money only for them to give it back to us? On their word that they give it back to us.
Well, technically they wouldn't give it back to us. There's going to be a final payment, I don't know, 10, 15, 20% retainage on this kind of contract.
Sure.
So that amount would be taken out of that retainage. We'd pay them whatever is left.
But where is the money now?
So at this point, the town would go through the amendment process, which is what we're looking at this evening, so the project can continue, which has a huge liability attached to it. And then as the bills mount up, we'll do a monthly reimbursement and submit the additional charges. Now, there's also retainage that we have, a large amount of retainage that's being held out of each of the payments to the contractor for issues that will take place and items that have to be fixed and damages to the road and other items.
Who's holding that money?
They're not getting the money, like if they, let's say they submitted a bill for $250,000, they don't get $25,000.
So I guess my question is, have we paid Hoyle Tanner this money
No.
to appropriate this to the contractor? Are we paying the contractor directly?
We pay the contractor directly, we pay HTA directly, and then we get reimbursed. We have to make the payment and provide proof that we did it. We then submit the monthly reimbursement. So far, all reimbursements on all the grants have been easily received.
So bottom line, the money will be coming back.
Yeah.
Because it's a federal program.
Are we withholding funding, that retainage, from both Hoyle Tanner and from the contractor? Because it seems like this whole issue is driven by the contractor's inability to stay on schedule. So are they also subject to that retainage being kept? And then there should also be something in there that they have to, a lot of times there's things in contracts that they have to pay if they go over schedule.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they actually get like a fine if they're not meeting their schedule.
Yeah, liquidated damages.
We have that in this contract.
So for the retainage, there's no retainage on HTA because they're an engineering consultant. The retainage is on the contractor. That's who you usually have it on. So there's a large amount of retainage that they will get at the end once the project is finally completed, generally a year later.
And do we have the ability to withhold an amount of that permanently from the contractor because they are costing us additional funding? Because it sounds to me, the way the project's gone, that this probably isn't going to be the last amendment that they're going to ask for.
It'll be much harder to get the next one.
Be pretty hard to
There
get
are
this one.
liquidated
Yeah.
damages for certain items, so at a certain point, there's going to be an issue, yes.
I think we hold our noses, we vote this through, we pay Hoyle Tanner to continue the project, and we lay all this out for the town attorney, and then say, this is what we're looking at, these are anticipated issues, how can we head them off, and what do we do if another amendment comes through? Because at some point, it becomes like the dog wagging the tail, where, they're late, oh, we're late, and they go round and round, and, if I were a conspiracy person, I would be saying, they're late, they get paid more to do the project, and oh, they're running late and they get more paid. Do you know what I mean? It's
The contracts from the state and federal government they don't tend to protect the applicants as much. They're very specific on the regulations for the payments to the engineering firms on the overheads and everything. There's not many penalties that are in there. The issues with the contractor has more penalties, which I suspect we're going to run into at a
so
certain
maybe
point.
that's the point that we can address is directly with the contractor. Hoyle Tanner's just kind of the middleman and is the necessary person that has to be, supervising, but we need to address it with the contractor directly, and that's, I guess, who the focus of the review for the town attorney would be.
I will say when I
Contractor.
expressed outrage to people higher up in the organization, they didn't seem to understand that this was an issue for us. I'll just.
Because they're not cutting the check. So is Hoyle Tanner the construction manager?
They're the airport consultant in charge of the project.
So who is the construction manager?
They're doing both engineering and project management
Yeah,
on this, correct?
they go out and designate one person who does the full-time inspection, and then there is the project manager with HTA.
That's this Nils Gonzalez that wrote the letter.
Yeah.
So remember, we're using the federal requirements here, which are pretty lenient for amendments, getting additional days and everything. This is not a town project because it wouldn't be like this. We would have shut it off at the beginning.
So honestly, for federal projects, this really isn't that abnormal.
No, actually.
It's a huge deal because it hits us. We feel kind of out of control on this, but federal projects, I mean, Brent, you've seen these. You've probably seen these too, Eric. Not like this, but where jobs, aren't scoped out or contracted properly, and this comes up, that comes up. I guess looking at this, we don't have a whole lot to stand on here because it is a federal project. We can't say, no, you're not going to get it. We can, but then there's another $500,000 we have to pay because the project wasn't completed. So based on that and the fact that we will have that money back by accounting measures, by not paying the full retainage at the end, okay, we owe you $100,000 retainage, but we're going to take $68,300 out of it for this thing. I'm going to preface that by saying as long as we're tracking this properly, so at the end, when they come back, no, you owe us this and this, and you can say, no, here, 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 and here, and here, and here, and here. And by determination of the town attorney, we're within our rights to do that, have a nice day. And then the next project comes up, we'll worry about that when that happens. But they are the same ones to play with. Let's get a little smarter the next time. Okay, we know what you did last time, and put something in the contract so don't do this.
It's just odd to have a lump sum project.
Yep.
And then because they didn't meet schedule, we pay more.
I know.
That is odd. Like I've never been a part of a contract like that in my life.
No one's justifying it. No one can. I mean, because it's completely out. But I don't know how.
I think that's why Natalie needs to be engaged because I can't believe that someone signed a contract that says, "Well, here's my $150,000 lump sum price, And if I run over schedule, I'm going to charge you $20,000 a day. Like, that's just the stupidest thing I've heard. Like,
But
it's-
the issue is that it's, the airport engineer is forced into this because they have to inspect. So they have a certain number of days that's in the contract. This has been caused by the contractor.
who they manage.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And it's our fault that they can't manage them.
This is totally ridiculous. I thought I would get a better response from HC.
That's why I asked if they're the construction management. Doesn't seem like they act like it.
I think they go into a project like this knowing they have the upper hand, because I don't think this is the first time they've played this little game.
I'd love to see
And it is a game.
Sure, I'd love to see the interaction between how they manage them.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Yep.
I will say that they seem to think that this was pretty ordinary, although I didn't in the discussion.
No, it isn't. It really isn't that abnormal, and not in the construction, especially when you talk federal projects.
Catherine, when did you get this letter regarding this?
I think on the 19th.
I would think that, for the number of days and the amount that they're looking at, I would have believed that since a lot of this is weather related and shut down for winter, I would think that they would have known sooner than April.
Well, that was one of my questions too, but they didn't seem to think it was an issue. It was very irritating. Because I asked specifically, well, did we know this before? When did you know this? And you really couldn't get an answer. As they said, these contracts are set up, they do seem to favor they don't seem to favor the towns. But then again, we're sometimes getting 100% grant, so.
I'd love to talk to that Nils Gonzalez.
What's the contract completion date? Do we know that?
Pardon?
What's the contract completion date?
When is it supposed to get done?
I have to go upstairs. I've got like a file cabinet.
Couple months, couple years, this summer?
August, I believe.
So, painful as it is, I think we should follow through with the 68.3, get it paid off, lesson learned, move on. However, have the town attorney look at this, make sure this is documented properly, because at the end, when we short the retainage at the completion of the contract, we can justify that amount.
Yep, very good. She has a copy of all of the contracts, and so I'll provide the reimbursement items. There's a whole big chart that we can track for.
Is there a possibility that when we submit this for reimbursement, we don't get reimbursed?
Anything's a possibility, but we were told this is pretty ordinary item, even by the state.
There wouldn't be there's nothing out of line for submitting this as a reimbursement. We're not going to say we're going to charge you. We're looking to reimburse 68.3 because they didn't do this, they didn't do that. It's going to be bottom line, this and this and this.
Yes.
So here's the problem, though. We're withholding it from a contractor, not from Hoyle Tanner. Is that correct? In order for us to get the reimbursement.
Well, no, we.
Pay Hoyle Tanner directly, right?
This is two separate items. There's a retainage, a regular retainage that comes out of the contractor's payment per the contract. And then Hoyle Tanner is requesting the additional money because the contractor is running behind schedule. So they're separate amounts.
Okay, so where are we getting it back from?
We're going to, we're able to file for reimbursement from the federal government. And then there's the option of liquidated damages from the contractor if this continues.
You know what LDs are?
Huh?
You know what LDs are?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But that isn't figured out on the fly. That's at the end.
So at the end of the day, Hoyle Tanner still ends up with $68,300.
Correct.
Even though they were the catalyst behind this entire problem from the beginning. Because had they notified the contractor the bid award on time, then the project would have been started earlier than it was, and we would be to the completion date before we are now. So, go ahead and do your vote. I know where I'm ending up. We can do whatever, but.
Well, the proper amount of time was provided, regardless, there's a certain amount of time that has to be provided for the project regardless of when it started. So the issues that went on with Well Tanner just ended up costing more for the project. It didn't affect the days.
Well, but didn't it though? Because if the project started at a later point in the year, which then they were affected by weather, did that actually delay the project and push it back because we didn't get the extra 15 or 30 summer days that we would have had because the bid was done on time? So when you look at this, the whole problem originates with somebody did not secure the contract that they were entrusted to secure. And that same person is now going to profit $68,000 additional dollars because they made an error. I would love to figure out a way in which I can do that. It's a pretty good living.
I think it was quite disturbing that they just didn't seem to think it was an issue. But this is the cards that went out.
Yep. Understood.
Does the contract have quarterly or progress reports along the way to show that you're 25% into it? Are you at 25%?
Yes, but they're very short, like a tiny paragraph. It's required by the federal and state government.
And also, like what Craig had said, last summer they would stop early on like Fridays and not work weekends. Right now, they're still working Saturday and Sundays down there to try to push. Mm-hmm. And why did they do that in the first place?
Mm-hmm. There was only one contractor. Obviously, we've got our experience now if there's ever any other projects.
Live and learn. Anything else, Council? All right, very well. Here and none, I sense we are ready to vote. All those in favor of Resolution 23-38, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Very well. I shall poll the council. I will go with Councilor Margolski.
Aye.
Councilor Frost.
It's a no-win situation, so it says, I guess I have to go with aye.
Councilor Jester.
Understand where we're at, but I'm going to stand a little on principle and go nay.
Councilor Hall.
We go aye, but they want the town attorney to look at it.
Yes, sir.
Please. Councilor Saucier.
Aye.
Councilor Donahue.
Aye.
And I shall vote aye also, so it'll be 6-1. Aye. And also, it's not in here, but that shall be in addition to having the town attorney watch this or weigh in on this and certainly hold back any final payment on that. And if and when we have another project, Blaine, Casey, and Hoyle, Tanner Associates not going to be the top choice unless they're the only game in town.
Who brings this to town attorney? Are you going to bring it up, or is Catherine?
Catherine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I would. I do this regularly. But I know that she's familiar with the contracts and they did a certain number of days and we're going to be over the number of days.
All right, so let's move on. Discussion items. There are none. I shall pass by executive session right now and go to reports. And I'll start with the audience. Anyone in the audience have any final thoughts, comments, questions, ideas? Mr.
I just have one question
Stackhouse.
that is about the topic we just talked about, but you, council, I just wondered if attorney's fees can be recouped in that also.
I imagine that if it gets to any kind of soup, if you will, I don't see why not. I mean, there's certainly expenses that we would not be expected to swallow on that.
It's on there.
I was just glad I got to stir the pot tonight.
It's always a joy having you here, Pete. More than
That's a long conversation.
You're kind of like that long-winded Jack in the Box. Keep turning the crank. When's he gonna go?
Well, that was one I kind of
He's gotta
That was one I kind of paid attention to when I was on the board.
go. No, it all came back. Oh, I remember that. I remember that.
Rent's getting cheaper, Pete.
Anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir. Please.
Hi, my name is Damien, and so we relocated to Pittsfield early last year, and just want to say that we really love it here, and it's been a great place to live, and so you all are doing a great job, in my opinion. But on that note, this kind of happened this morning, and I'm just, I don't even know if this is the appropriate avenue for the question or the inquiry, but I live on the top of Lincoln Street, and earlier, I'd say last month, I got excited when the street sweepers came out, because I'm an advocate of all kinds of different, recreational vehicles and whatever that's not a car. And this morning, as I'm coming down the street, the bottom of Lincoln Street is like a sandbox right now. And I'm on my motorcycle, and somebody happened to come into the turn right as I'm coming down, and I kind of had to lock my brake up, and it was a little nerve-wracking because of how it's a sandbox. So, where can I find out if they're done street sweeping, or is that by like recommendation, like, hey, my street's a mess, or?
Yes, sir, we're not done yet. We
Okay.
can send the street sweeper back there to get that area fixed.
Okay, that'd be great, and I appreciate it. Town looks great. Otherwise, it just
Thank you.
my own special situation this morning that was a little bit nerve-wracking. So.
I can understand that.
Wilson, they have been broken down, and they haven't swept many roads in town yet. But I think I saw it down at Nancy Park. Is it ready to go again, or?
They were out today, I think.
They were, yeah. So
They were out early. I was excited in April.
Yeah.
Motorcycle season.
yeah, it broke down. So that's a thing.
And it's been hazardous.
Yeah, yeah. But it's supposedly back up and running. So hopefully.
So you finally broke down, put your sled away, huh? It's not a big sled, right, Pete?
Yeah, I was late to that game anyways. But
We met in the park.
yeah.
He was on his sled and I was on my sled. That's when he told me that.
I saw some old guy following me, so I stopped. And
I had no response to that because you had your kids here.
I'm catching up.
Perfect. You did it perfectly. You all set? Anything else you wanted to? All right. Anyone else in the audience?
Are we
Yep. Please.
going to have to change the name on Birchwood Terrace to either Senator Collins or
If they give us the money, why not?
well, actually, they're two good friends of mine, so they could call.
There you go. We can call it Lux Lane.
Go right ahead and call.
See if they're
Jam Drive.
See if they return your call.
Yeah, see if they return my call.
No. She's in her office. Here, you take it. You take it.
Agnes does return calls extremely well. We go way back.
Good. Anyone else in the audience? All right, very well. Let's go to the council. I will start with Deputy Mayor Margolski, please.
No report.
No report. Councilor Frost.
I have a couple things.
Please.
It was nice to see the support and interest of the theater, which we can see. But the only thing I'd like to say is, I probably used to go to the movies three times a month. And lots of times you'd go there, and this is when it was running, and you'd go there, you might get 10 people at the most in that theater. And so I see there's going to be quite a struggle to maintain the theater, especially nowadays where you can stay in your own home and watch Netflix and see it. And they got a lot of nice intentions, but I see it financially is going to be very difficult. A lot of wishful thinking and assumptions that you're going to get all this funding. And myself and the family have been through this before, about 10, 15 years ago, and there was a big campaign push. And we did all kinds of fundraisers. We got 70,000. I said they get the new projector. And it still fizzled out in the wayside. So all the best of luck. I hope they make it. When you look at large major theaters, they're struggling. So to have a little theater in town here, good luck. But I hope they make it. The other thing I got is back on the sore subject of the airport. Some of that, I want to say that the town itself has to do a little better management on their project down there. And I've already voiced this elsewhere, but that road they use in McCarty Road was never designed for two-way traffic. It was designed for just one guy going down to the sewage treatment plant at the end down there. So when you have low bed tractor trailer trucks and 10-wheelers coming back and forth on that road like a two-way street, and the shoulder on that road, like I said, was never designed for two traffic. It dips off pretty sharp on the edges, so the truck pulls over. At those points, he's going to go down in the ditch. But when they pull over my lawn, they're not going down in the ditch, except making ruts about a foot deep.
So are they doing that now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You got big trucks going down there now?
Oh, it's steady. They've been last Friday there was trucks, low bed trucks, about maybe 10 of them, them long truck trailer trucks. And then
that solar site they're putting down?
No. This is the airport. Right here.
Oh, the airport. Oh, okay.
Yeah, instead of going down the newly paved road, Harrison, and going through the congested area, for every airport project ever, they've used it.
Yeah, that probably needs to be addressed because doing the solar site up past the airport, was it Curtis Street? Whoever was doing the housing development had a bird because they had that road for access. They had to build a whole new road, 3/4 of a mile new road because they complained being on that. You know, because they're going up to the housing project there in the hospital. So yeah, that I understand. That probably needs to be addressed.
So I did file a complaint with the airport engineer, and I did notice that it was placed on the agenda. And so I'm awaiting a report and have explained that we're going to have to withhold money if this doesn't get taken care of.
68,300.
What's this saying?
We can all just kind of do whatever we want, might as well. But as far as management though, you would think they would go in with the trucks loaded. Okay? When the 10-wheeler low bed is empty, go back out the airport road. It's under doing damage to the main roads of the airport that way. But then it's a one-way flow of traffic.
Yeah, they got to work with
My suggestion.
I'll talk to Caleb about that.
So that was part of his council, part of the residents. That's my input.
All right. Thank you, Brent. Councilor Jester.
No report.
Very well. Councilor Donahue.
Just a couple things. Like Brent, I appreciate definitely the passion that people have about the theater and reopening that. I struggle understanding the financial aspects of how they're going to make that work. I think that there needs to be a lot more planning involved and commitments, like firm commitments from funders in order for the council to address that. Thank you, Mr. Is it Duplessis?
Duplessis. Robert Duplessis.
Wrong. Thank you for coming in and answering questions about the tax revaluation. I think it's an important project to move forward, so I'm glad that they were able to do that, and hopefully we can find some creative ways to think about funding that project that aren't going to have a massive impact on any single year moving forward. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's go to Councilor Saucier, please.
No report.
No report. Councilor Hall.
Just right quick, want to thank Travis Gould for his work as he stepped in for code enforcement. Good to have Al back, and knowing that Al's back, I hope we can refocus on the Webb Road, because that's
He's got a list of the major issues. Webb Road is right there.
Yep, if he needs updated photos, I can provide those, because it's basically a dump site and it's just a train wreck. So it needs to be addressed, and I appreciate him doing that.
Same one from last year?
Yep. And just as bad, if not worse. So
There was a lot of cleanup, and then it's this bad again. Yeah.
It's quite ridiculous. Anyway, so good to have him back, and appreciate everybody coming. And that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much, Jason. So I'll be very, very brief before we go into executive session. As I always try to do, thank you everybody for showing up. We had a pretty good showing this evening. It tends to be a certain passionate item that people are worked up about or are passionate about. In the theater, that can be it, but we filled the seats. We haven't done that in a long time. And we're good to see the new people here, even you. Yeah, you. No, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming. I'm going to take 30 seconds and brag. I'm a proud father. My son's graduated with a Bachelor of Science this weekend. I'm very happy. So 2 Bachelor of Science degrees in the family, and my boys got it. So I'm very happy to share that. So I do want to do a quick follow-up, let everyone know that the search committee, town manager search committee met Monday evening. And for all who do not know, we have myself, I am on the committee, Deputy Mayor Margolski and Councilor Jester on the committee. We also have Lindsay Holmstrom. She was a former councilor here. We have Andy Vigil, the president of Chimbro. He was also a former councilor, former mayor, and Natalia Hall. We hit the ground running. We got a lot of things covered. I think the dynamic is going to be fantastic. We had some really great ideas. We have some actionable items that we're working on. Natalia has agreed to chair the committee. So we are in the process. We've got the ball rolling, and I'm very excited that we're able to do that now. So that's really all I have for this evening. Thank you all very much for coming. I will look for a motion by the council for executive session, please.
Move to executive session.
Correct. All right, we are in executive session. Thank you all very much. Thanks, Pete. See you later. You too.
Yeah, this is so. Yeah, 18 to 20, 22.